What's going on, guys? Zedd here, bringing you another TEKKEN Claudio video. In this one, I just want to quickly share my thoughts and sort of my understandings of Claudio and kind of where I see him right now, given the landscape of the game. I've had it now for a little while. And yeah, I'm just going to talk about basically 5 quick things, and I'll put them in the description if you want timestamps real quick. I'm not going to take much of your time, not really going to get into the weeds of it today. Just want to share my thoughts, and let's pretty much start off with what's in the title itself. Claudio as anti-meta. So what do I mean by this? Well, I can't showcase it all in one video or we'd be here for hours. I'd have to break that up. But, you know, I have Xiaoyu on the screen. She's the most prolific example these days. And I just have for Zedd to go into AOP, duck a few times for the super tech crouch. And without getting super into it, the biggest things that Claudio has over Xiaoyu are, of course, range for the keep out, right? Back 1, down forward 4, things like that. Even hop kick for whiff punishment. Back 4 has great range. But versus AOP, he has incredible answers. You can back 3 all the time. She can't super tech crouch it. And at most ranges, down forward 4 will clip her too. At tipper, it won't though. And then the last one here, down back 1+2. Also, she can't duck that. So all those things. And then when she just does AOP normally, you can use down forward 2. Now, if she goes to super tech duck, she can duck it at some ranges and some timings. Probably not gonna try very hard to get it. Yeah, but all 3 of those options are great versus her AOP. Back 3, down back 1+2, and down forward 2. And that's not even getting into the specifics, the transitions, etc., etc. So that's just a quick example of Xiaoyu. But what else do I mean by anti-meta? That's a very, you know, people throw around the term meta all the time. What am I talking about? Well, the game in Tekken 8 is very, shall we say, fast. Right? It's the best way to play this game for most characters. It's the way most people are playing, both online, offline, whatever. The thing is, and the characters who have counter hits, they're typically mid and safe, or high and safe, or, you know, it has decent normal hit properties, but you'd rather counter hit it. You know what I mean? But in the case of Claudio, what we don't have in mid-safe counter hits, we make up for with mid-evasive counter hits that are quick. Now, after combing through the roster, this is actually far less common than I thought it was. And the example I'm going to use is down forward 2, and then, of course, down back 1+2. This move is insanely good, and this move is as well. But why they're special is when opponents are really going to town on you, right, with their plus on block this, plus on block that, stances, heat, blah 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 blah. Claudio has the luxury of just being able to straight up ignore a lot of the stuff in the game. Now that doesn't necessarily mean the top 5 as in meta, but it just means the way Tekken is played. Claudio is really good at sort of countering that. Again, that's with the likes of down back 1+2, down forward 2. His hop kick is incredibly evasive. His back 1 is great keep out. His down forward 4 is great keep out. He has great range on down 4, albeit it is not a great move, but it still is really good range, right? So he has a pretty viable keep out game if you want to go that direction as well. But what makes him very special in terms of that anti-meta is his overwhelming evasion. Now obviously characters out there do have evasion. Xiaoyu, Leo, you know, Azucena to a point is pretty evasive. But the difference being that Claudio has the evasion attached to counter hit launchers. And yes, while they are punishable, they can be quite difficult to punish, right? So down back 1+2 is -12 or -2 with starburst. Down forward 2, while it is punishable, very hard to punish, especially at maximum range. And then his hop kick at tipper range, very hard to get the best punish for some of the characters. So in that sense, he sort of forces the opponent to slow down a little bit, and he is incredibly good at that. I think he has a great matchup into some of the best characters in the game, that being Xiaoyu. I think he has an amazing matchup into. Azucena he has a great matchup into. Bing he has a great matchup into, and even excuse me, even what's her face, June he has a good matchup into. So in that sense, he's good against the top tiers, a lot of them, which makes him strong. Right now, if the top tiers get nerfed, is that going to affect Claudio a little bit? Yeah, but we'll come back to that. So that's what I mean by anti-meta, without getting super into the weeds of things. He's good at countering the way Tekken 8 is played. Okay. Second point I want to discuss is the honesty of this character. A lot of Claudio players say he has no bullshit, where's my cheap stuff, where's my mix, and while I am also one of those players, right, no lows, no throws, what do? No strings. What he does have is probably top 2, top 3 wall game in the game, and that's probably being generous. I think Claudio has the first or second best wall game in the game, and I don't even think there's a discussion there, to be totally honest with you. Everything he has at the wall, right? Back 1, forward 3, forward 4, down forward 3, right? Tools like this, he controls the wall so incredibly well. Both at the end of combos on Oki, his wall damage is really, really good. It always ends in Starburst. When he's in heat and you're at the wall, he has a low heat smash, so that's extra threatening, and things like that. So his wall game is like insanely powerful, and that's where Claudio's BS is. Outside of the wall, yeah, he doesn't really have BS, unless you count, you know, evasive mid, counter hit launchers evasive, which you can, and I'll say fair enough to that one because it's not particularly unique. Or, pardon me, it's not particularly common, but at least they're punishable, right? He doesn't have, you know, safe high mid mix or safe strings that he can really abuse, right? He's just not that kind of character. He's a one-hit wonder, right? So that's where Claudio's BS is. Do I think he's a particularly strong character? No, but I appreciate the strength that he does have. And that leads me to my third point. Do I think Claudio is bad? No, I don't. But I think his strength lies in the fact that he is good against some of the best characters in the game. He is able to really contest the way Tekken 8 is played, and I think that that is very, very valuable in general. And so if the top tier characters get nerfed and other characters get buffed and he doesn't, he's going to suffer. He's going to struggle in general. And I think that you could say that about a lot of the cast, I know, but the fact that some of his best matchups are, you know, depending on who you ask, within the top 10, top 15 characters, and a lot of his not so good matchups are in the lower half of the cast, that kind of goes without saying that if the lower half of the cast, which are his bad matchups, get buffed, and his good matchups get nerfed, that leaves Claudio in a really awkward position where he ends up maybe gaining more even matchups and bad matchups, but he also ends up losing a lot of good matchups. Or rather, his good matchups will see less play, is maybe a better way to word it. Okay? So in that sense, I don't think he's bad, but I think his strengths aren't as obvious. But if you look at him at the wall, his strengths are incredible. Okay? Fourth point is changes. What would I change? Well, honestly, I don't want to see much change about him. I think he's a good sort of rational point to balance around. I think that he has clear weaknesses, clear strengths, and I think that that is important. Unless your character is a jack of all, master of none, that's okay too. But if you were to ask me right now, I wouldn't even want all of these changes, but I'm just going to give you like 4 that come to mind. And I wouldn't even necessarily want all of them. I would just even be happy with one of them, or hell, even none of them, depending on how they decide to balance this game. And the first one that I want to do is, or mention rather, is down 2-2. So down 2-2 is, as you can see there, 14 damage, 2-hit combo. It is natural combo. It's 20 frame startup, -1 on hit, and it does leave him in a crouched position. This move has a lot of problems. I won't spend too much time talking about it, but it's quite stubby, right? Like range 2 we're whiffing, 1.8. Yeah, so it's less than range 2 for the first hit. -13 on block is pretty egregious. The single hit, -11, that's fun, but it's no damage. The problem with this situation is your -1. Now, you can either dick jab, or if the opponent is going to dick jab to beat yours, you can hop kick. It's a bit of a mini mix-up, if you want to call it that. My problem with this move is sort of twofold. I would like it to be 0 on hit, or, and what I'd like even more, is for it to deal anywhere between 2 to 4 more damage. I think this being 14 damage, putting Claudio in a pretty shitty position, given that his crouch position, his crouch state and his while rising state are really, really bad compared to a lot of the cast. Like, his while standing moves suck, his Crouch options suck. He can hop kick, yeah, sure, but it really puts him in a compromised position. Think of it a lot like Dragunov down 2, right? This move is basically Dragunov down 2. The difference being it does less damage, I think, and it's a lot slower. So, and Dragunov has a better crouch state to be in. So, Dragunov down 2 doesn't see a whole lot of use now in comparison because he got that down back 3+4, right? His sort of hatchet-like low. Well, Claudio didn't get that. All of Claudio's lows got nerfed into oblivion, one way or the other. And this is his only new one that he got, and it's really bad. It is a down 2 equivalent, yes, but it's not a great option, right? And that's my problem. So I'd like it to do about 4 more damage. 18 would be good. That would be fine. Because then you look at this, which is 17 damage. It's 15 frames. And if you happen to block it, I'm getting launched. But the difference here is it keeps Claudio in a lot more favorable of a position for 17 damage, 0 on hit. This is perfect range for Claudio. But this low is very linear and launch punishable. And so I find it strange that, you know, this exists and this exists. Sure, this is less risk comparatively, but man, this low is a joke in terms of what it does for Claudio. You kind of have to use it though, because if you need that safe low that's not going to risk your life, this is kind of your only go-to, to be honest with you. So down to 2 damage I'd like to see. Another option I'd like to see is down back 3 speed. Right now this move is about 24 frames. It's a very distinct animation and audio cue. Once you reach mid-high level, people are blocking this majority of the time. Yes, it still has application after certain moves, like say sidestep 4 on counter hit. You can use it here, or on Oki if they're not getting up, you can use it there. And if you hard call out a high, you can go for the counter hit. My issue with this move is not the counter hit launch. I like that. It's not even the fact that it's launch punishable. I don't mind that because it's a low counter hit launcher. That makes sense. What I mind is the speed and the lack of tracking. This thing is so linear and it's not even funny. It whiffs at the wall. It's 24 frames. I would like to see this move be 22 because at least then it's still distinct. It's still slow, right? You can't just throw it out, but it pulls it off that cusp of being reactable, because then at 22 frames you start getting into that gray zone, more erring on the side of unreactable. You'd kind of have to be thinking about it to react to it, and I don't think 1 frame would be enough. I think 23 wouldn't do anything. So I'd like to see, if that range you see there is 24-25, I'd like to see it be 21-22 or 22-23. That's all I want for this move. Just to be 2 frames faster, I'd be happy. Another option I'd like to see would be the difference between while running 2 and while running 2 and forward 4. So right now, as it stands, arguably, Claudio has one of the worst while running approach mix-ups in the game, if you want to call it a mix-up, because you look at Azucena, right? It's a mid, it's great chip damage, like it's so much chip damage on her while running 3-2. It's a mid, it's plus. You look at Victor, his is steppable, yes, but he has run up, run up, up forward 2, which is pretty good range. And while Claudio can do run up back 1, it doesn't have that much range, so you're kind of screwed. And the problem with Claudio's is not inherently. The issue is the fact that both Ira and forward 4 are steppable to the same direction, and in many cases they're steppable to both directions. But the direction you want to step this is step it to the left or Claudio's right, and both these lose to sidestep right, at least against the majority of the cast. So what I'd like to see is, I'm fine with Ira being steppable to that direction, and in many cases both directions, but I'd like to see forward 4 have at least some tracking towards that Ira weak side, because right now as it stands, there's really not much reason to duck Claudio, but when people actually do, I'm getting blown up for very little reward when I land the forward 4. So I don't think it would be the end of the world if this just tracked to his right a little bit. I don't want full tracking. I'm just saying that if it was a little harder to step or it required the opponent to commit to a sidewalk, I'd be happy with that. Because then if you had to sidewalk right or sidewalk left Claudio's while running mix-up, that means you're opening up yourself to being just run up jabbed, run up grabbed, run up back 1, right, run up lows. All these things become more real because you're committed to the walk rather than the step. Okay, I don't think this one's going to happen, but it would be nice to see. And the last one, and this one might be a bit odd, I want this command throw to be even just one more frame of advantage. There's a reason for this. And the reason is that when you do, if the opponent gets grabbed by this and they do wake up backward, okay, and note that I have her set to block all, right, like that. That, I got it first try, but that is incredibly difficult to land on Oki. And right now, Claudio has no Oki. He pretty much has zero Oki, unless the wall is involved. But his grabs leave him in shitty positions. I'd like to see some changes, but it's fine. Throws are buffed in general. I'll allow it. But what he does have is if the opponent wants to create space with that wake up backwards, you can go for the wall running too. And as long as you get it pretty darn near perfect, that's 2 for 2, that's pretty impressive, then you're good. So if this was just +2 rather than +1, it would change nothing other than making this tech not frame perfect, literally. And I don't think that would be the end of the world for a character who doesn't really have any Oki. So that would be my last thing I'd like to see changed on him. And I feel like all those changes, not all at once, but I feel like all those changes are fairly reasonable, particularly because his lows are so shit. I don't think buffing down 2-2 or down back 3 would be that offensive or upsetting to a lot of players. Again, or his throws are so bad that the one good situation, I don't think people would hate if we made that better. I can see some pushback on the forward, that's fine, I get it, but the other 3 I think are pretty fair. And the last point I just wanted to say is simply, would I recommend words, brain, communication. Would I recommend him to new players? Yeah, I would. Why? Because some players, myself included, are not really all that good at the rushdown. We're not that good at heavy offense. You pick any 2D game or 3D game I've ever played, it's just not me. It's not what I do. And when I do go in, it's because I'm waiting for my moment to go in and then I take it. And in Claudio's case, that could be something as simple as landing a back 1 and going for the forced block situations, or, you know, if the opponent goes to kick here, just for example, right, wake up mid kick, just for example, land a back 1, you do this, they get hit, right? So I'm kind of taking this opportunity to get in and force the opponent to respect me. That's kind of what I mean by taking your opportunity with Claudio, right? Otherwise, I'm playing pretty slow. I'm looking for whiff punishment. I'm using back 1 to keep out, down forward 4 to keep out, things of that nature. And not a lot of characters can do that. Yes, Lee can, of course, right? Asuka has good keep out. Fang has okay keep out. Or, I mean, Fang's just really good, but in general, I think he fits a certain kind of player who likes to play slower, more methodical, likes moves that like fewer moves that do more things. So I still think he's good for new players, whereas, you know, maybe a month ago I would have said no, he's too weak, but now I've kind of changed my opinion on him. And he's a very fundamental character. He'll teach you a lot of good things about Tekken. Doesn't really have a lot of grimy BS to get away with. His mix-ups are basically non-existent. So I think he's good if you want to get good at Tekken with a really cool character in general. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, this is just coming from me. I'm not a Tekken pro. This is my first Tekken that I played, but I've been playing fighting games for a very long time at a high level. But this is my first foray into Tekken, and as you can see at the time of this video, I did get Tekken King, and it was a pretty big struggle for me, but I don't know, I'd like to think I have some understanding of this character, so anywho, let me know in the comments what you think. Once again, appreciate your time and support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out for now.